A heart attack is a silent killer. And we as fathers, sometimes we are dying slowly and quietly because we're allowing the system and other things to overtake us. And sometimes we don't ask for help, but we're slowly but surely, they call it when muscles lose its power, they call it atrophy. So what they're doing is what happens is we slowly but surely getting sucked away, and we're not good for even our kids.
I was born to be a father. That's my calling in life, is to be a father. Like, my goal is to be dad of the year. Like, you know, not to anybody else, but to my children. I want them, and when they, you know, I want them to feel like, you know, you're the best dad ever. Like, that's my aim.
If I ever could hear her tell somebody else who was the most influential person in her life, my dad. That's the person I go to for whatever. I want her to be able to talk to me about anything, except for one topic. But yeah. I want her to be able to talk to me, even if she like a boy. You know what I mean? She like him, and she, you know, Dad, I'm feeling this dude. I want to be able to talk to me about that. I mean, you go further than that, or you got to talk to your mom.
What has been the most difficult area of fatherhood is just being on one accord with her mother. Like, you know, her mother acts out of spite. She has my daughter more than I do, so it's kind of like she has time to work on her brain.
It's a war going on out there. The wars, you know, we got to protect their minds. We got to constantly, you know, counter everything that's coming in. You know, you want a Michelle Obama as opposed to a Nicki Minaj as a child, or Rihanna, or Beyonce. But how much information is they getting about Nicki Minaj's? I mean, or Beyonce and Rihanna's, as opposed to someone like Michelle Obama who could be a true role model.
I only have one son, and I waited until I was married to have one. But it's when I see him, and he smiles, and he says, "Daddy," and gives me a big leg hug. That does it right there.
One of the things that we notice statistics-wise, and when you look at a lot of the young men that are out there in the street getting hurt today and murdered today, a lot of them come from single-parent homes. And that's not to say single-parent homes don't work, but there's a male presence that carries on a certain level of respect to a male child. And when that's not there, that male child takes on the role of being the person in charge of that particular home setting. So that's what Daddy's Right Here is about. It's about empowering fathers from any level that they may be, whether they're coming home from being incarcerated, whether they're in a treatment facility, halfway house, whatever it may be. We take our services there just with the intent to teach and give them information on how they can make a difference in their own children's lives.
When you go before the judge and the judge says, I want $1,500 in 2 weeks, or I'm going to lock you back up, does he ask you, are you able to get it? Does he ask you, how are you going to get it? No. You know what he tells you? In 2 weeks, I expect to see you with $1,500, or I'm going to lock you up. Now, I just came from upstate. I've been in this facility for 30 days. I just started working. Where, Your Honor, with all due respect, am I going to get $1,500? And what is his response? Don't matter. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Now, I'm telling you that when you come home, I want you to stay on that path. Right? I want you to stay out of trouble. I want you to stay away from these people. I want you to stay away from these elements. I want you to get your life together. I want you to be with your family. How am I going to do that? If you keep locking me up because I can't keep coming up with this money. I had a guy who was in one of our treatment programs who went to see the judge every couple of weeks with money. His employer went up there with him. And his employer said to him, listen, Your Honor, I come up here with him and I give him money and I give him advance pay so he can keep paying you. He said, I'm tired. He said, what's the sense of him working? He can't do anything. I'm coming up here advancing you his pay every couple of weeks, so how is he going to do anything? You know what he did? He went back to selling drugs. He went back to doing whatever he could do to make those payments, just because he wanted to be with his family, just because he wanted to try to be responsible. So we keep putting this label, deadbeat dads, on a lot of fathers, But a lot of these fathers aren't deadbeat, they're beat dead, because they're taking responsibility constantly. Many of them. I see them. I've counseled them. And they get tired. They get tired.
I think it's very difficult to teach a male, for a female to teach a male how to be a man. You can show him how to stay out of trouble, but to teach him how to be a man, just like it's difficult for me to teach my daughter how to be a female, because I don't have them attributes. I cannot sit down and tell her about when a period comes on. I can't tell her about the emotions that is associated when a boy breaks your heart. I don't know nothing about that. I can't tell her certain things, but I could demonstrate to her as being her father what to aspire to have in a man by being a man and carrying the characteristics of a man and demonstrate it while we living together.
I was part of the street, part of the problem, and I remember the day that I found out that their mother was pregnant. I quit the game and walked away and began to change my life. So I credit my kids with having given me the opportunity to even still be here today. So, and I have 5 daughters, 2 of them I raised alone for the last 11 years. So it's been a very interesting journey and not easy one at all.
I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm hurting. I hurt inside because I remember like it was yesterday standing by the fence in Coatesville at the park watching the other kids play football, and I didn't have a father to teach me how to do it. I remember how it is looking at the neighbor kid and his dad building a tree house for him, and we didn't even have a hammer in the house. I remember how it is seeing my cousins going fishing with their fathers, and I didn't have nobody take me fishing or hunting, you know. But I had some people to show me how to steal a car. I had some people to show me how to shoot a gun. I had people to show me how to sell a gun, you know. Who's going to step up? Yeah, I'm 40, I'm not a kid anymore, but who's going to step up and show me how to raise my son? Because I don't know.
I've been home 27 months, going on 28 months after doing 22 years behind bars. Murder, aggravated assault, you name it. You know, I was in the game. You know, no place in the city was off. You know, was off limits to me. The brother said 50th in York. Yeah, I used to have a piece of that too. You know, in my day, that Carlisle Street and all that. You know, the city. Foolish. I was a foolish young man, so forth and so on, like everything else. But you know, I made a transition in prison, or prior to going to prison, because you know, when you go in front of a death-qualified jury, and they tell you 12 people have to decide for you whether to give you life or death, you start thinking. That old foolish thoughts you used to have go out the window, and you say, I have to make a change some kind of way. I have to make a difference, because if I get past this death-qualified jury, God not going to like me no more tomorrow if I say, well, I beat them, maybe I'll change the day after. No. I got to decide now. And I decided that the whole time I was away, I would focus on my children, I would focus on my education, and you know, when they finally do let me go, I stay focused. So far, so good. God has blessed me with the attitude and basically the heart. You have to be brave to do this. You have to be brave when them guys pull up in them Lincoln trucks and them convertible BMWs and say, look, man, this what's up. You have to be brave to say, no, that ain't what's up. You know, I done seen enough graduations from the penitentiary. You know, I left the street with a 10-year-old and a 3-month-old. And unfortunately, my 3-month-old was 22 when I came home. And he's deceased, you know, but he's still with us in a lot of ways, because he left me 6 grandchildren. He left me 4 boys and 2 identical twin girls born after he passed away. So he's here in more ways than one.
In the Quran, which is the holy book of the Muslims, in Surah 66, Tahrim, God says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, hu infusikum wa ahlikum narin wa kudu hanasu wa hijaratun. And the translation of that is, O you who believe. And when Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, that is in the command form of the Arabic language. He is commanding. He's not asking you, he's telling you, O you who believe, save yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is men and stone. Your first obligation is to save yourself. You can't help nobody else from drowning if you can't swim. So you got to be able to save yourself. But God is telling you, you have the capacity to save yourself. You don't need nobody else to save you. So that's your first responsibility. Then after you save yourself, you're supposed to go out and save your family. Muhammad, the prophet, the prayers and peace be upon him, he had revelation was given to him over 23 years. For that 23 years, he did dawah mainly to his own family members. He knew the importance of saving your family. There's a surah in Quran, it's called Wal Asr, by the token of time. It goes like this. By the token of time, surely man is in loss, except such as have faith and do righteous deeds, good acts, good works, and join together in the mutual teaching of truth and of patience and of constancy. And when I talk to young people, I always ask them, I say, what do Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur, Brown, I name it, what do they all have in common? And they think, and they say, wow, these people are dapper. One of the things they all have in common is they dead. Another thing they all have in common is they were all wealthy. They were all famous, had plenty of money. But if you were to talk to them right now and ask them, what do you want, more time or more money? They'd tell you, I want more time. Time is very important.
We can go back to slavery, but let me go all the way back to Adam. The problem happened when the enemy came in between the first marriage. See, the problem started in the first marriage. And when you started to see that the problem happened in the first marriage, and we took our desire off of God, because that is probably the only time in the history of mankind that humankind was in perfect relationship with God. But we got off track, and we started looking at other stuff, and our desires changed. They weren't for God anymore. They were for things. So the serpent shows up, and he starts talking to Eve. Now, we don't know where Eve was when God gave Adam the instructions. But it does say when the serpent was talking to Eve, Adam was right there with her. Taken off track of his job as a provider and a protector. I don't know no man today that would stand beside his wife and let some other Negro just come out of nowhere and just start talking some stuff to her without responding. So he was thrown off. She was thrown off. Then when God questioned him, the first thing he say is, the woman you gave me. He don't even want to own up to it. He want to blame it on Eve. The woman you gave me the fruit.
This morning I read an article about a black male who had fathered, I believe, 11 children by several different mothers. He made the news. These fathers always make the news.
Yeah.
How do we begin to change society's perception of fathers, specifically the black father?
We have to start to... Simplest answer I can say is we have to complain. At this day and age, my children can complain and actually literally have me arrested for some things that were common back in the day. So there are a lot of child rights, and these rights were given because of the complaint, because of what we felt was important. We have to literally unionize and come together and say, this is wrong. It's wrong for you, and I'm going to stop watching your news program until you start seeing this. We also have to start pushing or blowing up the positive events that are going around. There's so many mentoring programs and youth programs and fatherhood engagement programs and family situations that are just as exciting to us as a community. When they do something negative we don't like, we have to say we don't like it. When they do something we do like, we have to show them that we do like it. As of right now, I find fatherhood the quietest of all of the endangered species. I find that we don't speak out on what hurts us because we are made not to be hurt at all. So we just let it go, and we have a it'll be alright mentality. We don't vote nearly as much as mothers or females. We don't vote nearly as much as other groups. We just let it slide, and it's been sliding too long.
What message would you give to any father who is having difficulty sustaining the relationship with his child and or the mother of his child?
My first message is don't give up. Don't ever even consider giving up. My second message specifically to males is that a lot of times you fail in court, you fail in relationship, you fail in these things because you're not learning. You're not looking and seeking out the proper answers. A lot of fathers that we deal with understand the plight and understand the sorrow and have no problem complaining about it, but what do we do about it? These same dads know every single person's name on their specific NBA team or NFL team. They know all the rules before the guy even says what the foul was. So that means you're learning about that group. So now it's time for you to learn something else. It's time for you to learn about being a parent. It's time for you to go into court and learn about what these laws are. And these things can work towards you. The other thing is, once you start learning about yourself, you learn that from a male point of view, there's about I call them the 3 statements that can change your life. 2 words, 3 statements that can change your life. Forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, you're welcome. I mean, these little things can actually change totally 360 the entire relationship that you have. And every now and then, start throwing some of them around and you'll see some changes. But on the opposite side, if you have a struggle, don't ever give up, because these children are going to come back one day and say, did you or did you not? Or why didn't you? And every now and then, by the time we get there, eventually we're going to be left with the hand that we made.
Why is it so important that both parents are actively involved in the life of a child?
Well, that question is a little more intricate than most as it relates to helping a father understand, or even a mother to understand, the value of both parents being involved in the growth and development of the child. But I offer as concrete evidence the fact that each parent brings to the fertilization of the egg 23 chromosomes. 23 is contributed by the mother and 23 is contributed by the father. And these 23 chromosomes, each making 46, come together and form the child, be it male or female. And what's also interesting and supports this thinking is the median line that goes directly down our bodies. If you look at ourselves objectively in the mirror, you'll see that the body is actually divided in half. And there's one eye on one side, one nostril on one side, you know, the lip is split, right down the chest, right down the sexual organs, up the back, you know, and this represents the division that has come together to form the one. So the idea of being able to eliminate one side of a child and try to grow and nurture the other side that's more favorable to your disposition is just really, you know, senseless, you know, and not only destroys a good relationship between that caregiving parent and the child over time, but causes the child to kind of lose its way in terms of who he is or who she is, and why is she interested or why he's interested in the kinds of things that he seems to be inclined to be interested in. You know, so that's why, you know, that's one of the reasons why it's always important to involve mother and father in the upbringing of a child. And it's been said that you can raise a child right, you can raise a child wrong, and of course these are all opinions, but you definitely cannot raise a child in disagreement.
What would you say to a mother who has chosen to prevent the biological father from being involved in the life of his child because her new man is against any involvement? Because we know that happens. We know that when the mother gets into a new relationship, sometimes because of her new boyfriend's insecurities, she makes a decision to disallow the father to be more actively involved. Because the planning of vacations, weekend outings, family gatherings is strictly limited to her and the new boyfriend. Therefore, when the father wants to do more things, he wants to, have more outings and time with the child. It's always, well, me and so are going out this weekend and we're doing a family function. So therefore, she begins to cut down that involvement, which eventually moves him out of the picture, and some fathers just kind of throw the towel in. What would you say to that?
Well, there's always a counteraction to that type of behavior, and it's generally manifested in the behavior of the child. If there's more than one child, then it's usually manifested in the behavior of the strongest child. And the strongest child in a situation like that is always the one that's getting in trouble. The weak ones don't get in trouble. It's always the strongest child, that acts out and does whatever he or she needs to do to draw attention to the whole situation. Because clearly and obviously, as we all know as professionals, everything stems from the home. And if it turns out to be a situation like that, again, the move, should that family seek help and come up to a counselor looking for guidance and direction, the move needs to be connecting the boyfriend, who's in the home, obviously, with the biological father. And it might take some doing because of the objections of the mother, but that needs to happen. And I think in those situations, the boyfriend can be successfully appealed to because he comes from that kind of a background himself, and it might be a situation where he would have liked his father to be in his life, and it didn't occur. And more often than not, when a man takes that kind of a position or agrees with that kind of a position with the mother, it generally means he's come from that kind of a situation where his father was cut out of his life. But he can be reasoned with, he can be approached, and in that instance, you would definitely need a male therapist as opposed to a female, who can connect with him in that kind of a way.
The Father's Club. Your baby.
Oh. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the...
I share custody with a friend of mine.
Let's talk briefly about how the Father's Club came about. And what it represents today.
Father's Club came about from years of contract work, program contract work. I will be brought in to facilitate and help build a program, most likely an 8-week program. A lot of parenting or career development programs are 8 to 12 weeks. I got a little tired of, after 12 weeks, someone felt as though that they had graduated with their certificate, and the program thought that they had graduated, and I totally felt as though they didn't need a lot more help. I felt as though 12 weeks was nothing specifically when it comes to parenting. Because in social services, there's two things. There's prevention and intervention. I find parenting, prevention, and intervention at the same time. I find you hit two at one time. If I teach one person to read or write, they are now able to teach their child to read or write. So you can hit a lot more. And I just grew tired of it. I just felt as though it was monotonous, over and over, the same small program, the same curriculum being used over and over, and no detail into what the needs of these men were. So I got a shot. I got a call from the YMCA. They had received a certain amount of funds that they weren't sure what to do with. They know that they wanted a fatherhood program. And once again, I was prepared with my pen and pad to say, all right, here's your 8-week and here's your 12-week. And they said, well, you design your own. So I went home, and there it was. The door had opened. I designed a year-long program. It's 10 months out of the year. We do one topic per month. And I find that in the beginning, everyone told me that was a totally outside of the box and totally wasn't the norm, and guys really don't come to programs that long. And at this point, not only do we have guys coming that long, we have them not wanting us to stop during the months that they are. And I find it to be it is now become an incredible, I can't even find a word for it. It's unheard of.
We're communicating better about the arrangements of how I'm getting my son for the summer. She wants to go on vacation first once she gets, once summer hits with him. And I said, that's fine, I'll meet you wherever y'all at, or you can meet, we'll meet and take it from there. And I mean, just looking a little better. I mean, I'm still sad a little bit that I still got taken to court for my visitation to be regular. But, like I explained to her, that for me to know that I'm getting him and rotating them holidays, vacation, and also getting him in the summer means a lot versus you telling me I can see him anytime I want, but knowing I can't afford to come see him anytime I want. I'm like, come on, that's like,
At least you can prepare for it.
Right, so I told her, and then I always try to tell her, it's not about us, it's about him.
What do I treasure most about fatherhood would be the best way I can explain it is when I was with my daughter, raising my daughter by myself, going to work, dropping her off and stuff like that, taking care of her, learning how to be a father to a 1-year-old baby.
Like my daughter is my possession. No matter what, I could do 20 years in jail. That's still my daughter. No matter what, she's always gonna be my daughter, and that's what I treasure most. Like when I was young, somebody told me that they can take everything from you but your education. You know what I mean? Now I realize it's my education and my daughter. So like that's kind of what my daughter is. That's what I treasure most.
It's been pretty rough. My son did, he texted me a couple times saying that he missed me, he loved me, he hates living with his mother, she don't know why he doesn't allows him to, his sister to see me, and he's very frustrated with that. And I did go to the school to see him, he's 11.
He talked about it. Yeah, at 11, right?
Yeah, I mean, you should see the text messages he sent me, and I kept all of them.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
Print those out.
One of the things I treasure most about fatherhood is not being like my dad was to me. My dad was gone. So what I want to do is I want to do the opposite for my kids. I want to do something that was not done for me. That spend time with them and invest in them. And what I've learned about investing, it has nothing to do with the money, but it has everything to do with memories. It's just dropping memories into their minds and into their lives that will last for a lifetime.
don't know. I guess I kind of get back what I give in, what I give out to my kids, like their resilience, perseverance, all those things that I displayed, throughout their childhood. And to hear back from my daughter, like she asked me a question she said, "Daddy, why do you yell at us for being annoying, but still take us nice places?" And I said, Kendall, that's your job, is to be annoying. Your job is to be, have different mischievous or whatever whatever the different behaviors are, and it's my job to redirect them, and that's parenting. But I believe in the authoritative model of a good balance between discipline and just positive reinforcement or whatever. So just to kind of see it kind of kick back to me from her in her own little way, it was like, wow, like, you get it, you see what it is that I'm doing, you understand it. And I don't know, I mean, I like everything about being a father.
My 10-year-old said he'd heard that vaginas they were awesome, and he wanted to know what was so awesome about them.
The what?
Vaginas.
And that's the word he used?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the word.
So I changed the subject, man. It was a teachable moment. Yo, what's so awesome about vaginas? Yo. Look at this. I stumbled and I just said, dude, where'd you hear this from first? He said, well, school. He said, I've been looking at magazines and, I go, Dad, this is what's on my mind.
What?
He called me completely.
Oh, good.
You know what?
The bus was there. You didn't get on the.
Well, I'm sure it's not the last that I'm going to hear this. So, I'll redeem myself for dropping the ball right now.
Did you come here tonight to get a definition?
What's that?
Did you want us to give you a definition tonight?
Of why vaginas were awesome? Man, if he was 16, 17, man, we could have some real talk. But, and
we trying to talk football though?
No. Well, I mean, that's maybe no.
At 17, I mean, he's 10, man. He caught me completely off guard. I just changed the subject.
So you had to bring it back up. You have to say,
Well, you know what? But his personality, he's going to revisit it with me probably tomorrow. So,
which means he's comfortable with you, which is a good thing.
Oh yeah. I dig that. But all right, what would you have said?
Treasuring them is just playing with your kids, them smiling at you, them telling them they love you. You can take them on field trips to the museums. They have fun. The difficult part, like he said, is patience. Because I got 2 boys, so it's like I got to work on putting them on a set schedule or putting them in the bedroom because they don't like to sleep. They like to stay up and watch TV like I do.
I told him that last week he could spend Sunday Easter with his grandpop and his mother. Well, they came and dropped him off anyway. So I asked him. I said, "Well, didn't you want to spend Easter with Mom and your grandpop?" He said, "Well, yeah, but I wanted to spend the day with you." And that did it right there. That did it.
Like I said, I don't know, I feel weird sometimes. I love my daughter, I always want to be around her, but sometimes I'm just like, I need help. Like, what's the problem? And my mom and her mom, they seem to be able to figure it out like that. And
I mean,
it's a woman thing, maybe. I don't know.
Well, with your mom, it's an experience thing. She's been there with you. And with your child's mom, she learning it just like you is. Or are.
But I always say all fathers are nurturers and stuff like that. Just that we didn't have the same tools growing up. Like my sister had pretty much every Barbie doll in the world. And that's not the same as a baby, but she was brushing hair before I was. I was down at the park I mean, throwing rocks and trying to break something. So we didn't have the same tools to bring it out of her. So after a while, you're just going to get to know her likes and dislikes. It's going to come easy. Plus, don't be afraid to ask for advice. You got enough of us in here with daughters to give it to you. School is outside of the custody boundaries. You can always go to school unless there's something specific, extremely specific, which I haven't had a court yet that said there's a outside of some criminal that you can't go to the school. So school is outside of the boundary. If it's not your day, you can still go to school. If it's not your day, Boy Scouts is outside of the boundary. Girl Scouts is outside of the boundary. So you can be the junior, scout leader, and you can be the assistant Girl Scout leader. Yes, you're a man. I mean, they don't make you wear the brownie thing. You can sell cookies with your daughter. Those things are outside the custody boundary. So if custody says on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, she has your daughter. What we traditionally do is say, well, those are the days I can't see my daughter. But if she's in gymnastics at the YMCA, custody has nothing to do with that. Custody is mostly about just overnights. Whose house does she sleep with that night? So remember that when I got a lot of guys like, man, I wish I could see him more. Does she go to Girl Scouts? Yeah, every Tuesday and Wednesday. You should be a Girl Scout.
The reality is, like, I think we've been socialized to feel like, well, I'm entrusting you with my child, so my child is yours. When in reality, no, our child is ours. And even though, like, you're supposed to, the teacher or the school is supposed to supplement what I'm already doing, not the other way around. Like, I'm not supposed to supplement you. You're supposed to be supplementing me. So, really, like, if my child is there, then I have every right to be there. And I think we all have to, like, because I didn't always feel that way, but I had to start thinking like that, and thinking differently. Like the beginning of the school year, like asking like who's my son's teacher going to be, and even then, if you know anything about the No Child Left Behind Act, we have the right by law to ask, okay, what's his or her qualifications?
One area that I would want to have control is in my son's life, and that's because his mother is going to show him, not want to show him how to be a real productive, successful man in his life.
The first chance I got to read to my two oldest was in Grateful prison. I read a book to them, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. They both 21 years old. It was a hallmark moment. But that meant so much to me, as much as it meant to them. Of course, my daughter sniffled, my son puts his chest out, but he looked at me. And when I looked at him, I still see my children. I still see my babies. And I thank God for that opportunity. Just to be able to share that moment with them. Moments that I took for granted.